Welcome back. Today I have another very short video. This is showing another aspect of debugging, and here I'm using the editor for debugging. So I made a video some time ago where I showed how you can insert statements into your code for debugging purposes. This is going to actually use the editor for debugging. So to do this, I've written a very short expert advisor. This is in MetaTrader 5. Most of what I'm going to show you in terms of the techniques will also work in MetaTrader 4, but the code I've written is for MetaTrader 5, and there are some small differences in the way the debugger runs in MetaTrader 4, which I'll explain. To begin, very simple, I include trade.mqh, see trade. I've got three inputs, a stop loss, take profit, and a volume. I've got this first time Boolean because I'm only making one trade in this. It's just here so that I can demonstrate an error. So in the on tick, if this is the first time, then I get the bid and the ask prices, and then I open a trade for a buy. I open a trade for a sell through this function open trade that I have. I'm passing in the volume, the ask price or the bid price, stop loss, and the take profit. And these stop loss and take profit are amounts, they're not the prices. So in the open trade function, I have a double stop loss price, which I calculate by calling a function get stop loss price, passing in the type, that's this buy or sell, the price, and the stop loss amount. And then I've got the same function called take profit price, but I pass in the take profit amount there. And then I simply call trade.position open with the usual arguments. Okay, so here in the get stop loss price, I'm doing everything correctly. If the stop loss is equal to 0, then I return 0, and that's the price that I'll set the stop loss for. So remember, you can't really have price minus stop loss if stop loss is 0, because then you get the same price and you'll get an error there. I'm trying to avoid that error, so if the stop loss amount is 0, I'm returning 0 as the stop loss price. But other than that, the stop loss price is equal to type %2. You've seen me use this before. This is saying if it's a buy, or if it's any kind of order type of buy limit, buy stop, or buy at market, then that will return a 0. And if it's a stop limit, or if it's a sell limit, or sell stop, then this will return a 1. So if the result is a 0, then the stop loss price is price minus the stop loss amount. And if it's a 1, then it's price plus the stop loss amount. Okay, and then I just return stop loss price. Now here is where I've introduced the error. I've got the same test here for the take profit amount, but I've simply taken a simple approach and said take profit price is price plus stop loss. Price plus take profit. So an easy mistake that someone might make. This works fine for a buy, but it won't work for a sell. And then I return the take profit price. Okay, so that's my code with the built-in error. I'll compile that. No errors on compile. And now if I go to MetaTrader and run this, so I've set it up, I've got the inputs. These are just the default inputs, no changes there. I'm only running it for 1 day because it only makes one trade in each direction. And then I start. And that's finished. If I now go to the journal, I can see the buy, deal performed, order performed, buy, order sent, instant buy, done, fine. But then the sell failed. Okay. First thing I'll mention here, this error returned invalid stops. It's actually the take profit that's in error, but MetaTrader always returns invalid stops if the stop loss or the take profit are invalid. So I look at that and say, oh, what's wrong here? Why have I got an invalid take profit? It's the same as the stop loss. What's going wrong? I know that the answer for this particular code is very obvious, but the intent here is to show you how to use the debugger to find this. So what I'm going to do, I know that the buy worked and the sell did not work. If I go here to where the line number 34 is, I can double click that, and you see I get this is a breakpoint. If I didn't want to do that, I can right click on that and set toggle breakpoint, or I can simply highlight that line and press F9. So now that I've done that, I'll mention that I also, in my options, debug profiling, I turn off use specified settings, and that way when I run the debugger through the editor, it will use the same settings that I had in the MetaTrader instance. So I'm going to be running exactly the same things, the same inputs, everything. Okay. So now I can click this button, Start Resume Debugging on History Data. I click that. So the expert advisor is running inside the editor now, and it has stopped. You can see that little square has changed to an arrow at this line. What I want to do is find out why the open trade for the sell does not work, or why I'm getting an invalid value. Now I can, if I press F10 here, it will simply skip over that line. I won't learn anything about what happens inside this function. But if I press F11, the code moves down to the first line inside the open trade. So I can see that I'm getting a stop loss price, and I know that worked because I can see on the journal that that was fine, but it's the take profit price that didn't work. If I look down in this window, I can see that there is a price, stop loss price, take profit type, and volume. These are all local variables to this function. So the type, volume, price, SL and TP were passed in, and stop loss price and take profit price are local variables being defined in here. The first time I run this, and because I've already run it once, these values are filled in, but the first time you run this, things like stop loss price and take profit price, before you execute these lines, they could have any number in them. It's just whatever's left in the memory at that point. Because I've run it once in getting ready for this video, it's already got the value there. But this shows all of those values. If I want to see things like the INP volume, INP stop loss, and INP take profit, I have to add those manually. So I can right click on the INP take profit and add watch. And that's because they are global variables. They don't show up by default. So here I am at the take profit price equals get take profit price. So I'm going to step into that function and find out why I'm getting an invalid value back in this take profit price. And I step in, and here I can see the values that are being used to make the calculation. I can step to this line, take profit price equals price plus take profit. And yes, this is a very obvious example, but in some cases you might find that you're using a number of formulae to get these values back, and you want to see the result of each one of those and eventually determine what's causing your problem. So here I can see that I'm getting a take profit price that's correctly calculated, or that is incorrectly calculated. So I can see this is now calculated take profit price, and it is the 1.1636, which is not the value that I want. So then I would investigate this. I'd say price, well, that's correct at 1.036. Take profit value is correct. And then it's really down to me to work out why I can't just add that for a cell. And at that point, it should be obvious that I've made a mistake here. The point in showing you this is that you can step through the code to investigate the value of any of these variables at any point in the code, and then try to determine what's causing your problem. And so that's really all there was for this video. It's a very simple thing, but I'm surprised by the number of people who don't actually know how to take this step. Now, the one thing I'll mention here, let me just stop that. In MetaTrader 4, this option to run on history data is disabled. That is just something that's in MetaTrader 4. I suspect it's possibly to encourage people to move to MetaTrader 5. The button's still there, but you just can't use it. You can still use this button next to it, which is debug on real data. That runs in real time. So if you're trying to look at something over history, that's next to useless. But if you wanted to look at something that happens regularly in real time, then you could use that for MetaTrader 4. But that's why I've run this example on MetaTrader 5, because I can use the start resume debugging on history data. Another thing to note, if this were a script, so I've used this on an expert advisor, on a script, you would always use start resume debugging on real data, because the script runs once at the point where you start it and then it finishes. Okay, so that's all I've got today. I hope this was useful for you. Subscribe to see the next video when that comes out. Thank you. Bye.